You know, as ADHDers, we are sometimes known for job hopping, having a lot of different careers, different jobs over time. One of the reasons for that is because we have a very interest-based nervous system. So we are very good at doing things that we're interested in, but stuff that we're not interested in, that doesn't align with us, is a real struggle for us to do. So in this video, I'm going to go through the types of careers that us ADHDers should maybe steer a bit clear of. Don't worry, later on, I'll touch upon what careers work best with our ADHD brains. If you're new, I'm Chris. I help fellow ultra-normal brains focus, grow, and get stuff done. So this video isn't about telling you what you can or can't do, or what you should or shouldn't do. Every brain is different, even with ADHDers. Key with ADHD is that we have very interest-based motivation. So for all of these positions, I want you to assume that I'm talking about ones that you are not interested in. So if I do pick out a job that you're in, that you love, or that you're pursuing, I don't want you to think of this as me telling you not to pursue that, because if you have an interest in it, you do 20 times better than any neurotypical person in that same position. And what I say to you is go for that. If you have an interest in a job or an interest in a position or a career and it aligns with you, then 100% go for that, because anything that I say in this regarding that doesn't matter. Because I just want to make that clear up front. All this is just looking at jobs that we may not be best suited for and giving some reasons why. So here are some ADHD careers to avoid. The first one is paperwork-filled jobs. So paperwork-filled jobs are very unstimulating to our brains. Filling out forms all the time and having very, very repetitive actions is something that our brain is really going to struggle with. You know, things like being an accountant or an auditor or government work with a lot of red tape. That kind of work is very unstimulating to our brain. Because we have a very interest-based motivation system, it means that we can feel very, very unmotivated in those jobs and we can really struggle with them. The next one is solo work. So with solo work, we are good at being very social. We're good at interacting with people. We can be people, right? So working solo for a lot of ADHDers can be a real struggle. We can thrive in an environment where we have a lot of people around us, where we can interact, and thrive in an environment where we are always interacting and having a very collaborative effort. So working solo can be a bit of a struggle for us sometimes. So things like being like a lab tech, or someone who is a security guard or something like that. Something where with a lot of alone time, our brains can really struggle with because it feels very unstimulating. Next ADHD career to avoid is driving. So statistically, ADHDers get into up to 50% more traffic accidents. So driving positions, driving roles can be quite dangerous. Obviously, this isn't about being a bad driver. You can be a good driver, but maybe miss somebody who has run a red light and is running into you, and you don't quite have the reaction time. So driving can be quite dangerous for ADHD. So spending a lot of time driving in a driving career is something that maybe you want to think twice about. You know, things like delivery drivers, Uber drivers, truck drivers, forklift drivers. ADHDers can struggle in these jobs and they can be quite challenging because of the processing power in our brains that's needed. The roles that can be a struggle for us is having to be quiet or sedentary. So we are suited best in environments where we can be social and we can be free to be ourselves and not have to self-regulate all the time. So in environments where we have to be quiet and we have to constantly be thinking about what we're doing and putting in a lot of brain power into simply not being able to speak or having to sit still all the time, it can be a real struggle. So jobs where we have to maybe sit at a desk for 90% of the time, or somewhere where we're not moving, we're not getting to interact with other people, move about the office, go outside. Things like working in a library or being like an archivist or something like that. Jobs with a lot of sitting down and being quiet and doing very little. And by the way, if you want more videos on ADHD, make sure you subscribe to the channel for new videos every single week. Other careers that we can avoid are jobs with few benefits. You know, a lot of ADHDers can struggle with finances. So having to deal with things like savings, retirement, health insurance, taxes, 401k can be a bit of a struggle. And to get our heads around numbers and having to organize all of that sort of stuff can be difficult. So in a position where it doesn't have benefits like that automatically figured out for you, you have to figure that stuff out yourself, is maybe not the top of the pile, let's say. Pretty helpful when you can go into a job where they figure out the taxes for you, they figure out your retirement, your savings, IRA, etc. All of that sort of stuff makes it easier for us to juggle our finances, and especially when it comes to tax season. The jobs that we could avoid is jobs that involve a lot of moving parts or many different people. So in jobs that are very, very complex and you have to think about multiple components all coming together at once, our brains can struggle to organize that information all the time. And often we can find ourselves dropping the ball when it comes to jobs like that. So things like, for example, event coordinators, where you have to think of multiple different groups and get the timing exactly right. You can struggle with time blindness, which I've actually got a video which I'll link to above. But all of these things combined into one job where there's lots of moving parts, our brains can not perform best at. Like I said, event coordinators, air traffic controllers as a great example, with lots of things happening at once, lots of moving parts, not really suited best to what our brain does best. Jobs that involve a lot of rejection. So with ADHD, we can suffer from what's known as rejection sensitive dysphoria, which again, I've done a video on, I'll link to above. But RSD is a quite common ADHD trait. So we can handle rejection. Rejection in small doses is okay, we can deal with that. But if you're constantly getting rejected over and over and over again, that can be quite taxing and have quite an emotional toll on an ADHD brain. So jobs with a lot of rejection may not be best for our brains. So for example, very public-facing work environments, like a complaints desk or something like that, you'll be dealing with a lot of rejection. Cold calling, telemarketing, where you're phoning up people and constantly getting no on the phone over and over again. And customer service, door-to-door sales, you're knocking on doors and getting constantly rejected. All of that can be more of a struggle for an ADHD brain than a neurotypical brain. It's not that ADHDers can't deal with rejection. It's just that if we can avoid being in an environment where we're getting constant rejection, and that's a better choice, right? Rejection is something that I work on a lot with ultra-normal members. If you want to find out more about how to become an ultra-normal member, then join me on my free focus bootcamp, which I'll link to down below. Other careers to avoid is jobs that we don't already have skills for. So this is not about only taking on positions that you already know how to do. Starting from scratch isn't easy. With ADHD, we love to learn. We actually thrive in environments where we get to learn something new. So this isn't about taking on a position where you already know everything. But the one thing that we can struggle with is persisting. So if the position requires a lot of learning over a long period of time, I can get that initial boost of learning and excitement. But if it's constant learning over a long period of time, and it's not something that we're not interested in, our brains are going to start to switch off at some point. And our motivation to learn more is going to diminish quite a lot because we're not interested in it. So jumping into a new job can be great for our brain, but we struggle with that persistence, that persistent learning. It's not something that we're not really interested in. And another thing is that if we're not performing great at the start, then getting constant negative feedback can make our mind want to give up quicker than most. And that's another thing, is that in any position, if you're an ADHDer and you're getting constant negative feedback, whether it's warranted or not, that can be a really difficult environment to thrive in, because our motivation dips quite a lot, even if we do like the job. Really toxic boss or toxic manager and really suck all of the enjoyment out of the position. And that's something that I've experienced before in the past, where I've actually been really enthusiastic about the job, but the boss has given such constant negative feedback over a prolonged period of time that my motivation diminished down to zero, even though it was something that I actually really wanted to do and really worked hard at. So environments where we're getting constantly berated is something, for anyone, for neurotypicals as well, an environment where you're being constantly berated is never a good environment to be in. Another career to avoid is anything that requires really sustained hands-off attention. So anything that involves long stints of looking or paying attention to the same thing over and over again. So paying attention to details for long periods, repeating the same action in the brain over and over again. Things like, for example, transcribing for ADHDers would be pretty low on the priority scale in terms of choosing a job, because it's constantly having to look for details over and over and over again and rechecking and rechecking. Things like data entry. Data entry is, again, repetitive, unstimulating work that our brain doesn't thrive with. Proofreading, quality control, all of these that require constant repetition and cognitive load, our brains can really struggle with. So that's a lot of ADHD careers to avoid. But what about ADHD careers that our brains really thrive in? So if you want to know a little bit more about that, then I'll leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.